Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the 28th Annual LifeSavor Gala, presented by Citizens. For those of you who don't know me personally, I'm David Waters, CEO of Community Servings. I'm so glad you're joining us for this very special event. As many of you know, LifeSavor is held annually every spring and begins with an elegant cocktail reception at the beautiful Langham Hotel in Boston, followed by incredible multi-course dinners generously donated by our longtime restaurant partners. Partners whose businesses have been so damaged by this unrelenting pandemic. We are eternally grateful for their steadfast support of our clients and their families over the last 30 years. And it goes without saying that we will do whatever we can to support them during this difficult time. What I love most about LifeSavor is how it brings so many people together for one incredible cause, providing nourishing, scratch-made meals for those in our community who are too sick to shop or cook for themselves and their families. While we can't gather together in person like usual, and tonight's format isn't what we're used to, I'm very excited about the great lineup of guests and special programming that we're going to share with you over the next 30 minutes. Soon, you'll hear directly from two of our clients about the positive impact that our medically tailored meals have had on their health and their lives. But before we hear from our guests, we're going to give you a bit of background about the work that we do and who we serve. So please sit back, sip a cocktail if you'd like, and enjoy this short video.
The only program of its kind in Boston and New England, Community Servings was founded 30 years ago at the height of the HIV/AIDS pandemic. The agency began when a small group of activists and restaurateurs banded together to provide hot, nutritious food to 30 individuals living in Boston's Dorchester and Roxbury neighborhoods battling the devastating illness. Since then, the nonprofit has expanded its reach, serving home-delivered, medically tailored meals to thousands living with critical and chronic illness and their families across Massachusetts every year. Today, Community Servings is located in a state-of-the-art food campus in Jamaica Plain and serves about 3,200 people annually, a number that's growing rapidly due to a sharp increase in demand for healthy food for immunocompromised neighbors in need. This past spring, the agency delivered its 9 millionth meal ahead of schedule. Currently, over 57% of clients have multiple illnesses and comorbidities, further exacerbating their primary disease. 92% are living in poverty, and 60% are from communities of color. At present, half of the meals made weekly go to families with dependent children and caregivers to ensure the entire household is food secure. In Community Servings kitchens, cooking from scratch is key. A dedicated team of cooks and volunteers work together to turn fresh from the farm ingredients into 14,000 meals every week. In the early morning, the kitchen comes alive as stocks are slowly simmered for soups and stews, and meats, fish, and veggies are prepped for their transformation from wholesome ingredients to healthy meals. Meals that are suitable for 15 different medical diets and delivered statewide to clients battling a range of illnesses, including diabetes, HIV/AIDS, cancer, renal disease, and more. Every client receives a weekly delivery that includes 5 days' worth of lunch and dinner, plus fresh fruit and homemade snacks to enjoy. In addition to meals, they receive nutrition counseling from a team of registered dietitian nutritionists.
Nutrition is really important to our clients. The whole premise of the medically tailored meals is that we are providing individuals with food that meets their specific medical and health needs so they can get better and feel better. The role of myself and the nutrition team here at Community Servings is primarily to work with our clients that are receiving our meals and make sure that we're assigning them the right diet. When we have a client start on our meals program, the first thing we do is the nutrition team reaches out to them and gives them, does a nutrition assessment with them. So we speak with them about their current health conditions and learn a little bit more about their access to food, their ability to get food and prepare food. And from there, we're able to assign one of our medically tailored diets to that individual. We try mostly to serve local communities and communities from where our clients come from. Community Servings has 15 medically tailored meals or diets that we can put together in different combinations to support individuals' medical needs. Some of those diets are truly medical-based and some are more preference-based, but we try to combine them to make sure we're feeding people food that feels good and right for them. We work really hard to make sure that every client we're serving knows that they have someone on the Community Servings end who is there to help them understand the food that we're sending them, know that we're sending them food that's going to make them feel good and help them get well, and that we're here for support over time while they're receiving our meals. Having a human being on the other end of a phone who you know you can reach out to, who's going to be there to help you, is just so important to many of our clients. The idea of food as medicine is obviously just so embedded in what Community Servings does. We give people food to nourish them, to nourish their bodies, to nourish their souls, to make them feel good. And it's an honor to be able to do that and to work with these individuals and really know that we're trying to heal every part of them. One of the other pieces that our nutrition team engages with on a regular basis is working with Brian Hilmer, our executive chef, and the entire kitchen team. When Brian develops a new recipe, he runs it through the nutrition team. We do a nutrition analysis on every recipe that we have that goes out to clients, and we make sure that it is appropriate for the diets that we want to send it out for.
The role of executive chef here at Community Servings involves initially procurement of all the items that we're going to use in order to design the meals, create the meals, package, and then ultimately stage for delivery. So a lot of my work is done around ingredient selection, recipe writing, menu writing, and then of course working with my team to teach them how to make the meals and then execute them according to our recipes to ensure that we're hitting all of our nutritional benchmarks and providing for our clients the best possible culinary experience that we can. So our mornings start a little bit before 6 a.m. We start receiving trucks at that time. We're also turning on our equipment at that time to get everything ready for production. We'll go through the items that are on the day's schedule for production, and then start pulling out our prep, start assembling recipes, start creating meals, and then we'll go through a phase of cooking and then chilling, which then goes into packaging, which then goes into sorting and organization, and it goes on as we take a raw ingredient all the way through the process to be ready for delivery to a client. So our philosophy here is to make everything from whole ingredients. We use organic every opportunity that we can. We use local product with every opportunity that we can. For instance, our meat, all of our beef comes locally sourced. All of our fish and seafood is locally sourced. We work with local farm partners to receive tens of thousands of pounds of produce from them. It's very important to us that we start with the best quality ingredient that we can to ensure that nutrition carries through to the clients. So our team consists of about 15 full-time staff members. It's not enough for our team members to be able to just cook or understand how to work with recipes and food, but they also need to know how to work with volunteers. So we allow volunteers to participate in almost every part of our operation. So in order to meet the needs of our 15 specific diets, we end up creating dozens of different unique entrees in order to blend them together to create a week's worth of food for our clients. But in a week's time, we make about 14,000 meals. People who are in the food service business inherently, I believe, feel a sense of joy anytime they're creating food for somebody else, regardless of their needs. It's, in my opinion, it's an act of love or an expression of love to create nourishment for somebody else and share that with them. And that's a feeling that's shared across the team. This place isn't just a job for me or for anybody on my team. This is, it's a core belief that we have that what we're doing here is making a difference and providing for people who would have otherwise, gone without.
Many of the clients that we serve are in very difficult and struggling communities. Even prior to COVID, they were in areas where food access was an issue. And not only just the food access is an issue, but just their health was a major concern. Many of them, deal with diabetes or deal with cardiac issues and don't have the ability to be able to go out and source the food that's necessary to help them to thrive. The work that we do helps to better their lives. And to know that food isn't a major concern on your mind, it gives me peace and it gives them peace throughout their days. I've never felt so positive and felt so good about myself and the work that we do at any other job. And knowing that we can continue to serve more people throughout the state of Massachusetts continues to, push me to do more and give more service to all the communities.
Over the next year, Community Servings expects to prepare and deliver 800,000 meals. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the agency is experiencing a 40% increase in referrals from care providers. With your continued support, Community Servings is prepared to meet the unprecedented need for home-delivered, nutritious meals, ensuring the most vulnerable among us can remain safe and healthy in the days, weeks, and months ahead.
I know I speak for everyone on our team when I say it's an incredible feeling to know that our work is making such a positive impact on the health of our critically and chronically ill clients. Over the past 7 months, it's become even more apparent how important our work is and what's at stake for those who need our support. It reminds me of the early days of the HIV/AIDS pandemic, when there was so much uncertainty and a lack of effective treatments. We did the only thing we knew we could do: deliver the gift of food to those most isolated and sick, providing comfort through the power of nutritious, scratch-made meals. While what we serve looks much different today, and we know a lot more about the science behind food as medicine, the sentiment and the symbolism are much the same. Now, we're going to hear directly from our client, Bob Casanta, about the impact that our meals and nutrition services have had on his health and his well-being.
I kind of have an interesting take on community service because I was a volunteer there first. I've been involved in this epidemic as a client and as a provider, and I know somewhat of the history of community service. It started out as a few people preparing meals for people with HIV, and it's grown into this amazing organization. I've been living with HIV for 40 years. And then in 2017, I had a total knee replacement and I became a client. I understand how important good nutrition is. For anyone with autoimmune disorders, it's essential. That old Italian thing, most people eat to live. Italians live to eat. The array of food that I get is amazing. I can say unequivocally that the great nutrition that I get from community servings has helped to keep me healthy all these years. I have a complete blood work panel done every 3 months. My blood work is always impeccable, and I'm still here, and I'm healthy. And I attribute that in large part to great nutrition. One of the important things is with HIV, your energies ebb and flow at different times, regardless of how healthy you are. If I'm having a slow day, there's always a meal, a good healthy meal prepared for me, that I just have to eat up. So, it enriches my life on many different levels. And I am so grateful for that. I'm lucky to have community servings helping me stay healthy. Thank you to the staff at Community Servings, and just keep doing what you're doing. Your work is invaluable and life-saving, and I am really grateful to be, the recipient of your goodwill. So thank you.
The COVID-19 pandemic has laid bare the glaring disparities in healthcare and access to food that we've known about for decades and seen firsthand with our hungry clients. In Massachusetts, food insecurity has doubled since March, from about 8% to 16%, putting those who are isolated and living with critical and chronic illnesses at even greater risk for contracting the devastating illness. With care providers referring more immunocompromised clients to community servings every week, we need to serve more people now. To do that, we need to continue to scale our operation by purchasing more fresh food, hiring more cooks and delivery drivers, and expanding our fleet of delivery vans.
So COVID-19 had a tremendous impact on us in a couple of very distinct ways. First, like everyone, we dealt with the uncertainty of the future. But the executive team and the leadership team and the agency as a whole immediately wanted to take steps in order to ensure the safety of our clients, our staff, and our volunteers, and anyone who participated, the families of all those people. So we looked at how can we best utilize the space safely to never let our clients go without, but also protect everyone that works in the space. The volunteers that we did have come in were considered to be highly trusted or high repeat volunteers, self-selected, sort of the emergency response team of volunteers, many of whom worked almost every day for weeks on end until we were able to come to a little bit more of a stabilized rhythm of business.
In March, as the pandemic hit, operationally, our minds were still on serving. What's interesting about our organization is safety has always been, our top priority. So we really listened to our staff and listened to our drivers to understand what they were facing while they're out on the road, what they needed to be able to feel safe and be successful at their job. And we constantly do that. And the transition from pre-COVID to the pandemic hitting and us moving forward was very smooth.
One of the other things that occurred was there was an increase in food insecurity in Massachusetts and Boston in particular. And so we were tapped by the city to assist with providing nutrition for citizens. And so we provided about 27,000 meals over the course of about 7 or 8 weeks, in addition to the meals that we were already providing for our clients. And we distributed those out through charity and nonprofit partners. So in regards to providing a sense of security and support for our clients, our goal was to make sure that they were never without food and that they understood that there was a safety net and that there were people that were working continuously, regardless of the circumstances, to ensure that they were fed and cared for.
Yeah, it was really clear to us that we wanted to communicate to our clients how safe we were with our food and our delivery methods. It happened early April where we made calls and put information in the bags and just really read to some of our clients what this information was and how some of our delivery protocols would change. Obviously, we had to socially distance while making deliveries, so that was important to be able to let our clients know. And there were fewer people handling their food, so those were some of the concerns of some of the clients.
As my role here as executive chef, I understand that there is a need for that sort of broad-shouldered approach to take on the challenges that come in front of us, and I relish the challenge. In general, I've been incredibly impressed with what people are able and capable and willing to take on. So we've been very fortunate to have received such tremendous community support over the years, and particularly at the beginning of COVID-19. And in order for us to keep up with the demand and the requests that we're getting, it's very important that donors continue to support us in the ways that they have to help us provide the resources to our teams in order to deliver to our clients. So it doesn't look like there's going to be any shortage of need, and it continues to grow as we continue to expand our impact as we race to keep up with the demand. We definitely need the support of our donors in order to keep pace.
The reason that we need support in this organization is just to continue to do the work at a high level. There's so many people out there that are in need. We, up until the beginning of this year, we're only really serving Eastern Massachusetts. Now, through shipping, we are serving the state. And with that, we want to be able to reach as many people in the state and beyond in the future by serving them food. And to know that we can still connect with these people through food and nutrition counseling and nutrition education, even though we may not see them through our delivery team, but being able to really provide them with a service, it's even more rewarding. So being able to provide us monies or resources to help us to do this work at a high level it's really critical. The organization over the last 30 years, philanthropy and just donations has helped it to survive. And during COVID, it's even more important to have these resources because the cost, not only of the cost, but the need has grown. So bringing those two things together, it's really critical for our success. There's a great feeling of working around people that want to give their best in support of someone else. Like that is what I feel like we're here on earth to do, is be mindful of giving back to people that are in need.
As you just heard, we've worked hard to adjust our operations and change systems so that we can continue to safely be there for our clients in their time of greatest need. I couldn't be prouder of how our team has coped with this unprecedented public health crisis and remained so steadfast in the face of so much uncertainty. It hasn't been easy, but everyone at Community Servings has risen to meet this challenge, and I will be eternally grateful for their dedication to those we serve.
I'm Sharon McNally, and I've been a board member at Community Servings for a little over a year. I got involved in Community Servings because, well, first of all, I love food and I love cooking. And I had the experience of being a very seriously ill patient several years ago. And the food that was delivered to my home by friends and neighbors to support me and my family during my recovery was so important and so monumental. It really made an impact on us. So when I was asked to co-chair LifeSavor a few years ago, I jumped in, and the rest is history. I fell in love with the mission, and now I'm on the board, and I'm very, very honored to be part of Community Servings. There's nothing that feels more supportive and more loving than beautiful food. And on top of that, the meals that are delivered to people who are food insecure and or chronically or seriously ill, it's medically important to them. It helps them get better. Food is medicine. It delivers love. It really delivers love. Many of the clients that we serve don't really have an appetite until they see the food that comes in from Community Servings, and somehow they rediscover their appetites and they enjoy eating again. It's really important, and they so appreciate it. Support for Community Servings at any level has enormous impact. Every dollar that we raise increases our ability to deliver medically tailored meals to people who really need it. So it's important to give if you can, and every dollar really counts. Community Servings has faced a number of challenges. Everyone has during the pandemic, but particularly the need for medically tailored meals has increased, and Community Servings has done everything that we can to increase our ability to provide. So we've increased our ability by 40% in the last 6 or 7 months. And the challenges are, it's harder to get materials. There are staffing challenges because of spacing requirements. The drivers are having a harder time delivering meals. It's harder all around, but Community Servings has decided that we're going to face these challenges head on and do more and better, and we really have. We've delivered an enormous amount of really important food to people who need it. Support for Community Servings will help us undertake the largest programmatic expansion in our history. We are planning in fiscal year 21 to deliver over 800,000 medically tailored meals to over 3,000 clients in need. support for the organization will ensure that we can do this and that we will be here for the future to serve our community. My message for people who are contributing tonight and anytime is thank you. You are appreciated and you're making a huge difference in the lives of people who really need our help.
And now we'll hear from Community Serving's client, Buba Diame, about how our medically tailored meals have kept him healthy and hopeful for the future.
My health journey is, I guess, is a complicated, long one. I was fairly active, even played college basketball and some other sports. So we never really felt it until I think I was 26, and then we noticed that I was having sharp chest pain and will never go away even after a month. So then went to the doctor, and it turns out that I had my heart was failing at the time. I was also having irregular heartbeats, which was kind of risky for sudden cardiac arrest. So they put those devices in my chest. And then since October 2016, I've been on the transplant list. We have a family of 5. We have a 6-year-old and then twins that are 2 years old. I heard of community servings through my insurance a year after my implant. I have some restriction in terms of the amount of liquid I take daily, the salt, the amount of salt. So having that specific requirement or restriction with respect is important. And at the same time, also, we work with the dietitian or nutritionist to kind of understand what are my preferences in terms of taste, and making sure that I don't get bored and switch the type of meals we get. So I think that's a critical part, and it removes the guessing game out of the illness. So let's say I'm ill right now or something is not going well in terms of my vitals, for instance, we will know that it's not the food. So for me, that precision is very important. We've seen a steady improvement since community serving. The benefits of the meals are really tremendous, especially when you have chronic illness. You don't get a lot of room for error. So they help you be stable physically, and that translates to your mind and to your spirit. And I think in my case, I've seen improvement in all areas of life, and it's great that I have all the positivity that I can bring, but I also needed steady, healthy nutrition that is precise to what I need, and then the way that is delivered and that the way we get in that is not adding more stress to my wife, for instance, as a caregiver, or any of the rest of our family. I've gained so much in terms of benefits. I was able to lose weight. I don't have on and off days in terms of energy. I'm able to produce and be productive, and that translates to many things that are just tremendous. So very grateful to community servings. Speaking as a patient, speaking as a father, speaking as somebody who loves food and is not a great cook, we should support community serving because stories like mine shouldn't be isolated or shouldn't be unique. And for me, it's a very, very important part of my therapy in general, and then also my well-being. It's something that should be everywhere and available to everybody. And I have no doubt about that, because I'm a testimony of that.
Thank you, Buba, for sharing your powerful story. Before we close, I also want to thank this year's LifeSavor sponsors, Citizens, MFS, and Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts, who helped make this event and so much more possible. Lastly, I want to remind people that more than ever before, our isolated neighbors across Massachusetts need our support, but that we can't serve all of them without your help. As Sharon just mentioned, we've increased the amount of meals we make for our critically and chronically ill, food insecure clients by 40%. That's a huge increase that just shows how many people need our help. We need to purchase more fresh food, expand our kitchen and delivery teams, and grow our fleet of delivery vehicles so that we can keep up with demand. By scaling our operations, we'll be able to keep those most at risk at home where they're safe and ensure the food they need to maintain and improve their health is delivered right to their door. It doesn't take much to make a world of difference. For just $5, you can feed one of our clients for a day. For $30, you can feed someone for an entire week. If you can afford to give more and help us close this fundraising gap caused by the pandemic, I hope you'll do so. To give, simply click the donate button on the top right corner of your screen. When making your gift, please remember, food insecurity has doubled locally since the start of the pandemic. Care providers are referring more immunocompromised clients to us than ever before. And the support you give today means we can continue to scale our operations to feed more people right now so that they get through what we know is going to be an extremely tough winter. Every time we knock on the door of an isolated senior or critically ill mother juggling chemo and childcare, we're delivering a gift thanks to you. A beautiful meal customized to their individual health concerns, along with the message that they have not been forgotten. These are extraordinary times, and we are all called upon to do more to help our neighbors and loved ones. Your incredible support of our work over the years is what makes the magic happen, bringing light into the midst of darkness. Thank you for your incredible support, and thank you for joining us this evening.